be grateful that you live in hell. It's been an interesting morning so far. It's about 5 o'clock in the morning. You can see the sun trying to come up. I'm headed up to Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. I was going down to Greencastle, south, but that fell through. I guess my load was canceled. They told me to go back to sleep. And then they called me again and woke me up and said, can you be here 15 minutes earlier than you would have been here otherwise? Oh, okay. Actually, they wanted me there at 2:15 a.m. when I was originally scheduled at 3:15 a.m. But I said, I can get there by 3. And that's what we did. And now it's a couple hours later, and I'm on my way to Wilkes-Barre. How often in your life do you look through your front windshield and see fog? And you don't know what's up ahead. You can't make it out. Difficult to discern what you're supposed to do. So you do the best you can. You might have to slow down, but you do your best to keep going. And then it clears. And then you can see where you've been, and where you're going, and where you are now. And you understand what it all meant. And hopefully, you can understand what it all will mean going forward. That happens sometimes. So why would we be grateful to live in hell? It looks pretty good sometimes. I mean, right now, it looks pretty good. From this angle. And that's the secret to being grateful to live in hell, is you have to look at it from the right angle. You have to have the right perspective. For one thing, you have to know what the point of hell is, what the purpose of hell is. Hell juxtaposes pain and beauty. Hell shows you what's possible, and then denies it. And that's the overall purpose of hell. Hell's intention is to keep everyone away from bliss. So you'll say, okay then, I don't want to be part of it. But that would be the wrong response. Because you can make a different purpose, regardless of the intention that hell has for your life. The point of hell is to process us, to break us down into bite-sized pieces, to turn us from flesh and bone and skin and teeth into hamburger. So the vast piles of humanity go in at the top and come out at the bottom, all processed. But not everyone has to be processed. And that's the secret. You can repurpose hell if you choose to. Most people don't realize that this is an option. Jesus had it right when he said, "Straight is the gate and narrow is the way that leads to heaven," or leads to life. and few there be that find it. He understood that a sliver, a small piece of the big pie of humanity makes it there and finds its way. When the people you encounter, the personalities, the entities, the demons, when they seem to want you to accept a smaller and smaller version of yourself as days go by, you can reject that. You can say, fuck that shit. I'm not putting up with that. I don't accept your version. I don't accept your intention. I don't accept the point of this place, which is to break me down into bite-sized pieces. I don't accept that. Even though that's the point, I don't accept that point. And in that process of rejecting the purposes of hell, you level up much faster than you would have if you were just in a comfortable place. You are becoming. You are not static. You go up, you go down, you see clearly, you see nothing. But your own purpose, your own process is to become omnipotent, omniscient, masterful, competent, glorious. And that's your point. And no one else's point is relevant. So you think about what you want to manifest, and whom you wish to become. And then you use this place, and you become magnificent, not in spite of it, but because of it. It's like Deadpool when he was in that chamber all night, deprived of oxygen. He would never have found his superpowers without that adversity. And so you and I need adversity to become superhuman, to become magnificent. At the beginning, we're all ordinary. And then most of us become hamburger. We go from ordinary downwards. But some of us, and it is not predestined, there are no very elect, despite what some people think. You can choose at any point. Crystal ball gazers can fuck themselves if they say they know how it's going to turn out. Or if you think you know how, you can't know that. You have to choose in every moment. And if you keep choosing life, if you keep choosing to level up and to be grateful for every kind of adversity, because it's only with adversity that you're going to get where you want to go, then you will become magnificent. This is Cormark in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. One of the other drivers told me that it gets horrible reviews on, I assume on Chamber of Commerce. You can go on and make comments about various warehouses. I've been here 4 hours. I got here at 6:30 and it's now 10:30. And it's completely apropos to what I was talking about. Be grateful that you're in hell. Grateful that you're living in hell. The only thing is, you might wonder, would anyone choose hell? It would be tough. Even if you knew that it was going to benefit you, you'd probably rather choose Puerto Vallarta or Aruba and you choose to be a guest sitting on the beach. But that wouldn't be the best thing. But still, I don't know how many of us would choose hell just for our own good. So I have some theories about this. This is where, if you weren't already convinced that I'm batshit, this will do it. This will push you over the edge. I have a feeling that gambling is rife in the universe. Sort of like Hunger Games, where everybody's looking to bet on the outcome of some contest, or just, you can bet on anything. So let's just say, for the sake of batshittery, that a friend of mine lost a bet and got stuck here. And that on a whim, I said, I'll go with you. Because even though I made light of it, I'm just making shit up, so bear with me. Even though I made light of it, I knew it was difficult to make it out of here without getting ground up into hamburger or mincemeat, if you like that better. So I just said, we'll make the best of it, and when we are done, we'll be even better people than we are now. Better souls, better entities, whatever you want to say. Better eternal spirits. But there is a real danger of getting stuck because your energy is too low, because you vibrate too slowly. And there's a danger that you will find yourself discouraged and in a downward spiral, and you'll find yourself becoming more compliant, less willing to challenge what's going on, and in that way you lose yourself over time. As I said earlier, there is no guarantee. There are no elect. There are no people that are guaranteed to make it. I think there are jailers, or caretakers if you prefer, and they may be in on it, but I don't think there are any non-player characters. I think everybody has the potential to win or lose. And I think some really brilliant, marvelous, wonderful people lose thousands and millions every day. So it's a serious place. Nothing to make light of, even though that's probably what I would have done. So if you want to reap the benefits of it, which is a gamble, which is a high risk, because the path is indeed narrow that leads out of it, you have to be prepared, you have to be willing to make it all the way. And I think there are two ways to get out. I think that if you lose a bet, then you're in for a predetermined amount of time, and the owners of this place realize that most people, after the amount of time, well, long before that amount of time is over, they will have been processed. And the other way out is probably that leveling up way that I said at the beginning, where you vibrate at such a high frequency that this place can't hold you anymore. And I think Jesus was onto that. I think he was about out, and maybe he made it out. I hope so. I think it's a really important point that everybody you meet has the potential to escape this place, because it could be very ugly if you didn't hold that. It could be very ugly if it's true that there are non-player characters that don't matter, or if you just say, well, most of us are going to get processed, so they don't matter, and then you try to guess who's going to make it and who won't, and that could lead you into some very ugly attitudes and behaviors. I think we all have to be here for each other, and I think raising the collective vibration helps everyone. So I don't think it's a good idea to just go through and say, I'm going to figure out how to be happy, I'm going to figure out how to be vibrating at a high level, and fuck the rest of you. I don't think that helps anybody, including you. So I think it behooves all of us to be kind to each other and to encourage each other and to raise the collective vibration level. And who knows, that may be the only way to finally get out. It would probably be good to go under that assumption. I can't help but believe that if you live that way, your own vibrational level is going to go up much faster, regardless of who else escapes or doesn't escape. I know it seems kind of bleak. It's a Monday morning. I'm sitting at the shipper from hell. That switcheroo this morning in the middle of the night, where they text you and wake you up and call you and wake you up. It's precarious to stay awake and alert for a 14 or a 16-hour shift, and there's no way they should be waking you up before your shift starts. That should be verboten. But they do it, and it's how hell is. And the people who do those things are just reacting to the other people who do those things. And on down, on up, shit flows downstream. And that's what happens. So when you're setting boundaries to try to be treated better, I think you need to be careful not to just lash out at the people who treat you like shit, because it's just them a little bit farther up the chain than you are, and who knows, lifetime after lifetime, where you'll be in the pecking order. I felt that very strongly a few times in my life, that everybody takes turns at every level. It's just the only way. It just doesn't seem possible that it could be any other way. That we're all peasants and paupers and kings at various points in time. And time isn't real. But I have a feeling that this place is. Today I feel like this place is probably real. The interesting thing is, after I answered the text that said I wasn't going to be going to Greencastle and that I was not for sure going to be working today, I went back into this kind of sleep where I dream vividly. And I was dreaming about college kids who had been mean to me. And we were trying to make peace somehow. And I was trying to be less indignant with the way they had been treating me. And in my dream I was acting all suck-uppy, like burying the hatchet. And then I woke up and I was like mad at how I had been acting in the dream. I was, fuck that shit. I don't want to live like that. I don't want to suck up to the assholes who treat me badly. It's hilarious how differently I can act sometimes in my dreams, which are very vivid, especially the last 10 or 15 years. Sometimes I think that my dreams depict truth and reality more accurately than what happens when I'm awake. I'm not saying that my dreams are happening in a material way or a substantive way, but they do tell the truth that I can't see clearly as easily when I'm supposedly awake. It makes me wonder which side of that dividing line is awake and which side is asleep. It reminds me of C.S. Lewis' The Silver Chair, where Prince Rilian only had his mind for an hour each day. He was strapped into the silver chair, and the rest of the time he didn't know who he was or where he was. I think that's kind of what's going on here. So when we do have our lucid moments, we have to take advantage of them, and we have to remember the truth when we're not in the silver chair. There's a proviso to all of that. It isn't always easy to tell when the shit is getting shoveled your way what to do. It isn't always easy to say, well, I'm just not going to take any shit. I'm not saying that it's okay, but the people with the shovels didn't produce the shit, and they're just being told to keep it moving, and you happen to be in the way. So it's not like harm is intended always, unless it's way up at the top with people you'll never meet. And sometimes even those people are benign, and they just make a system that doesn't always work. This morning we had 2 of our assembly lines out of 5 break down, and so we were short product, and that's why they were canceling routes. And the dispatch had the not enviable task of telling the drivers their routes were canceled, or that their routes, they were changed to different routes. It's not, there's no right answer for them, because they know you're asleep, but they also know that you don't want to drive to work, especially if you have a long commute. You don't want to drive to work if you don't have to. It's good to stick up for yourself, and I've said that all along, but it's also sometimes necessary to have a sense of humor and try to figure out where the shit's coming from. In our culture, that leads down the rabbit hole of oppressive systems in general. In our culture, very few people know where the problem is coming from. They want to blame, for example, they want to blame politicians. All the politicians are just shoveling the shit down from the oligarchs above them. And that's another topic, but it's just an example of how it isn't always easy to tell who the oppressors are. We hardly ever know, seemingly, the people around me, whether they're college-educated liberals or less educated conservatives, or the other way around. Doesn't matter who. It seems like most people are not aware of where the problem starts. So that's just one example of when you don't always know when to fire back and which direction to fire. It's not very satisfying, as opposed to when there's a clear bully who comes and messes with you, and then you say, I'm not doing that today, and then you level up and everything. The world is better as a result. But the world isn't always better if you lash out at shit shovelers whose fault it really isn't. I wish there were clearer answers. The day is a lot clearer. If you remember, it started out much foggier than this. Maybe that's how our existence will progress. I'll leave you with this idea, lest things seem too bleak. You can win this fucking game. You can do it. You're not doomed. anyone can do it. I'm not saying everyone will do it. I'm not saying even that the system will allow everyone who's able to make it. I don't know if it's a fair system. It's hard to tell. But you can make it. And I think you will. I think you'll end up, if you do make it, better off than you would have been if you hadn't ended up here. I don't think that this place leaves you the same. I think it either turns you into mincemeat or it vastly improves you. It's like putting your investment in a risky stock or on a long shot in a horse race. You can win. It's not guaranteed, but you can win. And if you do, you'll win big. And I think if you expect to win big, you'll win big. Not hope, just expect. I am going to fucking win. And then I think you'll do it. So when you end up in hell, for whatever reason, the universe is still conspiring to bless you. It is helping you either win big, if you will, if you do, I guess, if you can. But what I want to say is, if you will, the universe will make sure you win big. But you still can lose, because the universe is not codependent. The universe will allow you to lose. And I didn't want you to be discouraged with the idea that it's an impersonal, uncaring system. The demons care to fuck with you and mess with you and grind you up into hamburger. If there are angels, they conspire to give you guidance and to give you power, grace. So it's not impersonal. It leaves a lot to you. That's the bottom line. You have to step up, you have to do the thing. It's not always easy to know what the thing is, but after you figure it out, or as you're figuring it out, you do it. You just do it. And then you'll end up feeling as though you were helped all along the way. Because in fact, you were. What to do about enemies when you are opposed in a personal way by someone who hates you, loathes you, despises you, detests you. We've touched on that before. I think the best way to do it is to vibrate above them, and I think Jesus had a handle on that. I still think you don't need to take shit, but at the same time, you won't even see it or smell it if you are above it. It won't even be in your sphere, in your dimension. It'll be in a parallel universe and you won't encounter it. And as Jesus noted, that really pisses your enemy off. He said to pray for them who despitefully use you. And he, whatever he said, it amounts to condescension or ridicule or accusation. That's a big one. Enemies are really good at that. And if you don't even notice them, that's probably the most devastating rebuttal. I've had enemies who hated me for that more than anything else I did. Just not even notice them. They took their little swings and I had my hand on their head and they couldn't reach me. That's probably the best outcome when you have enemies. Is that you're just holding them away with your hand and they can't reach you. Or they're just taking their swings, their mighty blows, and you don't even feel them. That didn't hurt. I remember that game. When you end up having an excellent day under difficult circumstances, I think you are way ahead of where you would have been if you had just had a comfortable day. In diving, you can't win the contest if you do easy dives. Your dives have to have a certain level of difficulty or you won't win. And so if your days have a certain level of difficulty and you crush them, you're going to win. So ultimately, that's why you rejoice. That's why you're grateful when you have a tough day. So it may have been saying it too strongly to say, be grateful that you live in hell, but I don't know that you can rebut that. It's tough. There are at least some days when it really looks like hell and feels like hell. And those are your best days if you're leveling up. So there. Windmills. Tune back tomorrow to see if tomorrow is a, well, what do we call it? A bones day or a windmill day?
In 3/4 of a mile, arrive at home on the right.
Think of something to call it